Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're exploring this lifestyle guide called 16 Points.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's really kind of this blend of, practices for physical and mental well-being, almost like a scientific and spiritual recipe for a balanced life.
Interesting.
So we're going to be unpacking some really interesting stuff here today.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we've got using water for purification.
Oh, wow.
We've got caring for your joint hairs.
Okay.
And wearing a laungot.
Interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So you might be surprised, just how much these practices, according to this guide, can really impact your mental and spiritual state.
Yeah, what I find so interesting about the 16 points is that it's not just presenting these practices.
Yeah.
It actually dives into the reasoning behind them.
Right.
For example, it emphasizes using cold water after urination.
Okay.
And not just for basic hygiene.
Okay, so beyond just, keeping things clean, what's the deeper reasoning there?
Well, the guide explains that, if you have residual urine, it can basically create a breeding ground for bacteria and fungi, which can actually cause a lot of different health issues.
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes like a step further and suggests that this regular cleansing with cold water can actually have a calming effect on the mind.
Wow.
Yeah, it's presented as this simple act that has both physical and mental benefits.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like a mini reset, for both body and mind.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating how the guide connects these everyday actions to, a larger spiritual framework.
Yeah.
So what about the advice on joint hair?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, the guide seems to advocate against shaving, particularly in the armpits and the groin.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit that one caught me a little off guard.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
That's a concept that kind of goes against a lot of modern trends. The guide actually connects this practice to historical examples, suggesting a link between hair removal and a decline in courage and resilience in certain cultures.
Really?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It even argues that joint hair plays a crucial role in regulating body temperature and protecting vital glands.
Yeah.
So it's the perspective is that joint hair isn't just there by chance.
Right.
It actually serves a purpose.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if some of our modern hygiene practices, might actually be working against our body's natural design.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, on to something I had never heard of before reading this guide.
Okay.
The laungot.
The laungot.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so the laungot is a traditional type of type-sitting undergarment for men.
Mm-hmm.
And the guide says that it provides support for the male genitals, which can help prevent issues like varicocele and hernias.
Okay, so that makes sense, from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
But the guide doesn't stop there, right?
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. It connects the laungot to some pretty deep spiritual implications.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me about that.
The guide suggests that wearing a laungot can help control impulses, strengthen mental resolve, and ultimately support spiritual advancement.
Wow.
Yeah, it's presented as a way of, physically symbolizing that inner discipline and focus.
So the laungot isn't just underwear.
Yep.
It's a tool for cultivating discipline and focus.
Yes.
Reminding you of your spiritual goals throughout the day.
Exactly.
It seems like a pretty powerful concept. This guide is full of surprises. Now, I'm curious about 16 Points' take on diet.
Okay, yeah.
What do they have to say about that?
So this is where this idea of balancing the different energies comes in.
Okay.
The guide actually categorizes food into 3 types. Satvik, Ravasic,
Okay.
and Tamasic.
Interesting.
Yeah. And each with specific effects on the body and the mind.
So can you give us some examples of these food types?
Yeah.
And how they're supposed to affect us? I'm particularly intrigued by this idea of tamasic foods.
Yeah, so tamasic foods, according to the guide, are those that can lead to lethargy, negative emotions, and a feeling of heaviness. So examples would be things like processed foods, meat, alcohol.
Okay.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have sattvic foods.
Uh-huh.
And these are described as promoting mental clarity, peacefulness, and spiritual growth.
Okay.
So those are fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
So it's not just about calories or nutrients.
Right.
It's about the energy that food carries.
Exactly.
And how that affects, our overall state of being.
Exactly.
That's really making me rethink my grocery list.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the 16 Points perspective on fasting?
All right, so this section dives into this idea of harmonizing with natural rhythms.
Okay.
The guide connects fasting to the lunar cycle.
Mm.
and its gravitational pull on the body's fluids.
So the idea is that by aligning your fasting practices with the lunar cycle,
Yeah.
you can kind of make the process more comfortable
Exactly.
and work with your body's natural ebb and flow.
Exactly. The guides suggest that this alignment can actually minimize discomfort and harmonize your body's internal rhythms.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But it also goes beyond the physical, right?
Right. It also suggests that fasting, when combined with spiritual contemplation, can enhance vitality and mental clarity.
It's amazing how 16 points blends these ancient practices with modern understandings of the body and mind. It's
Yeah.
not just about following rules.
Right.
It's about understanding the reasoning behind those rules
Yeah.
and how they connect to, a larger picture of well-being.
Exactly.
Really cool stuff. Yeah, it really is amazing, how 16 points takes these practices that might seem mundane or even outdated and then reveals their potential impact on our well-being.
Right.
There's definitely a lot to unpack here.
There is.
Speaking of connections, I'm curious to hear more about the guide's perspective on foreskin care.
Okay.
It's not a topic you often encounter in lifestyle guides.
It definitely caught my attention.
Yeah.
The guide emphasizes the importance of proper hygiene
Right.
to prevent issues like infections,
Mm-hmm.
and explains that the foreskin, if not properly cared for, can create an environment where bacteria can thrive.
So it seems like 16 points doesn't shy away from these practical,
Right.
sometimes overlooked aspects of physical health.
Exactly. And it even goes beyond the purely physical,
Okay.
connecting foreskin care to the regulation of sexual energy and mental clarity.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's about understanding the body's natural functions and how they relate to our overall well-being.
It seems like a recurring theme in 16 points is this idea of respecting the body's natural design.
Yeah.
We see it in the discussion of joint hair foreskin care and even the use of the laungot.
It's a perspective that challenges a lot of modern norms.
Right.
The guide encourages us to question those norms and consider the potential consequences of our actions, even those that seem as simple as shaving. It invites us to tap into the wisdom inherent in ancient traditions.
I'm also struck by the emphasis on energy. Yeah.
How different foods, practices, and even clothing can influence our energy levels and mental states.
For sure.
It's making me view my daily routines in a whole new light.
The guide encourages us to be mindful of the energy we're putting into our bodies and how that energy impacts our thoughts, emotions, and even our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to become more conscious creators of our own well-being.
Well said. This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Me too.
It's like a whole new framework for approaching health and well-being.
It's a framework that encourages us to move beyond a purely physical or material understanding of ourselves and to tap into the interconnectedness of our physical, mental, and spiritual selves.
I'm particularly intrigued by the idea that these ancient practices, if incorporated into our modern lives,
Yeah,
could potentially address some of the anxieties and imbalances we experience today.
absolutely.
It's a compelling thought.
It certainly raises a lot of questions.
Right.
Could we find greater balance and resilience by reconnecting with these practices?
Could we enhance our mental and spiritual well-being by understanding the deeper implications of our daily actions?
Those are some big questions.
Yeah, they are.
Now I want to circle back to the concept of half baths,
Okay.
or engrounier, as the guide refers to them.
Right.
It's a practice that was mentioned earlier, and I'm curious to learn more.
Yeah, so this practice is all about cleansing and cooling the body, promoting circulation, and invigorating the senses.
Okay.
The guide explains how it can help to relieve fatigue, reduce stress, and prepare the mind for meditation or spiritual practice.
So it's like a mini ritual for refreshing both body and mind.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a more intentional practice than just like a quick shower.
It's about taking the time to connect with your body and create a sense of internal harmony.
Mm-hmm.
The guide provides specific instructions on how to perform a half bath, emphasizing the use of cool water and focusing on certain areas of the body.
It sounds incredibly refreshing. And the guide even connects this practice to deeper benefits, suggesting that it can help to balance the chakras and promote emotional well-being.
Right. It's a simple practice with the potential for profound effects.
Wow.
It's about understanding the power of water to cleanse not just our physical bodies, but our energetic systems as well.
16 points certainly emphasizes the multifaceted nature of water.
It does.
We see it in the discussion of cleansing after urination half baths and now full baths.
Yeah.
Or who more than?
Right.
It seems like water plays a central role in this system of well-being.
Absolutely. The guide explains how a full bath when performed correctly, can help regulate body temperature, conserve energy, and even enhance the absorption of beneficial sunlight. It's about working with the body's natural rhythms and optimizing its functions.
It's fascinating how 16 points takes something as commonplace as bathing
Right.
and elevates it to a practice with deeper significance.
Yeah, the guide even suggests incorporating specific mantras and mudras or hand gestures while bathing to enhance its energetic and spiritual benefits.
Wow.
It's about infusing the practice with intention and connecting it to a larger spiritual framework.
It's amazing how much depth and intentionality is woven into even the most seemingly ordinary activities in 16 points.
Right.
It really challenges our modern tendency to rush through life on autopilot.
Yeah, it's an invitation to slow down, become more present, and appreciate the sacredness of everyday life. It's about recognizing that even simple actions, when performed with awareness and intention, can have a profound impact on our well-being.
Well said. And speaking of appreciating the sacredness of life, 16 points also provides guidance on how to approach eating.
Yes.
And it goes far beyond just counting calories or following the latest diet trends.
The guide encourages us to view food as a source of energy that can impact not just our physical health, but also our mental and spiritual well-being.
Okay.
It categorizes food into 3 types:
Okay.
Sadviks, Rajasic, and Tamasic,
Right.
each with its own unique qualities and effects.
Could you elaborate on these food types and their specific effects? I'm particularly interested in how the system goes beyond the typical nutritional advice.
Sure. So Sattvic foods, such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, are described as promoting mental clarity, peacefulness, and spiritual growth. Rajasic foods, including spicy dishes and caffeine, are said to increase energy and activity, but can also lead to agitation or restlessness.
Okay.
And tamasic foods, like meat, processed foods, and alcohol, are seen as heavy and dulling, potentially leading to negative emotions and lethargy.
So it's not just about what we eat, but also the energy we're taking in and how that energy influences our overall state of being.
Exactly.
It's a very different way of looking at food.
It's a system that encourages us to be mindful of the energy we're consuming
Yeah.
and to make choices that support our overall well-being. The guide even provides practical advice on how to prepare and consume food in a way that maximizes its benefits.
It sounds like a very holistic approach to nourishment.
It is.
It's not just about the food itself, but also the intention and awareness we bring to the act of eating.
Exactly. It's about seeing food as more than just fuel for the body.
Right.
It's also nourishment for the mind and spirit. 16 points encourages us to view every aspect of our lives through this lens of interconnectedness.
You know, it's remarkable how 16 points kind of weaves together these ancient practices and reveals their potential, to actually enhance our modern lives.
It's true.
It's not just a set of rules, it's like a holistic system, for cultivating well-being.
Yeah, it's a system that reminds us that we have more agency than we often realize when it comes to shaping our own reality.
Right.
By aligning our actions with these principles outlined in the 16 points, we can tap into like a deeper wellspring of vitality, clarity connection.
So from the practicalities of water cleansing and laungot wearing to the deeper implications of diet and fasting, 16 points presents a truly holistic approach to well-being.
It does.
It challenges us to kind of rethink our modern assumptions and reconnect with the wisdom of these ancient traditions.
It's an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery and transformation.
Right.
A journey that can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and a more harmonious way of life.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
What if some of our modern day anxieties and imbalances could be addressed by incorporating some of these ancient practices back into our lives?
For sure. It's like we've been given a key, to unlock this hidden potential within ourselves.
It's definitely food for thought.
And it's not just about individual transformation.
Right.
The guide also hints at the collective impact of living in alignment with these principles.
Okay, so what kind of collective impact are we talking about here?
It proposes that if more people embrace these practices, it could create like a ripple effect, leading to greater harmony, resilience, and spiritual awareness in society as a whole.
That's pretty inspiring.
It is.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into 16 points.
We have.
From the seemingly simple act of cleansing with water
Right.
to the profound implications of wearing laungot and aligning our diets with these specific energies.
We've explored how this guide encourages us to view our bodies with respect, to work with our natural rhythms, and to be mindful of the energy we bring into our lives, through food and our actions.
Right.
It's really a holistic system that touches on nearly every aspect of our daily experience.
It really has been a fascinating exploration.
It has.
And I think you're right. This guide does offer a powerful reminder that we have the potential to create positive change, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
It's a call to action to become more conscious, more intentional, and more connected to those deeper currents of life.
Well, we'll leave you with that to contemplate.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep diving.